yet again to the to the associated guests. I, as always, am your host, Alfie Animus, here at the Bear in Mind channel. Today, Kamala Harris, drunk tweeting again. She's got to stop that shit. Hasan Abi, is it over? We'll check in with Asmongold, who legitimately never talks about Hasan unless Hasan talks about him. But Hasan says it differently. We get a chilling warning from Waltz. I'm not familiar with who that is. I've heard the name before. And then we'll see if we have time to check in and get a little bit of this Sargon of Akkad. If not, we'll do that in the morning. But let's get started.
This ain't no democracy.
Yes, it is.
No, it ain't. This is the United States. Your ass belong to me. They don't give a damn about you. They don't like you. I don't like you. Nobody likes you.
What's up, guys? It's Benny.
That is true. Most... I don't understand the appeal of Kamala Harris other than the fact that she's a woman and she's not white. That's the only appeal I see her, and that only appeals to upper class white women on the liberal side of things. This is kind of retarded, I ain't gonna lie. Or people who identity politics matters just a little bit too much. But, you know, whatever.
Every single time I see Kamala Harris post on social media, I can't get this image out of my head. I don't think it's AI. I think this is real, but it absolutely has source material that is based on a very slurry, very angry, nonsensical video that Kamala Harris cut with very bad lighting in the lead up to her handing over the presidency to Donald Trump. In one of the most humiliating election landslide losses in history, she lost the popular vote, all 7 swing states, and 90% of U.S.
she's
counties.
unlikable.
And she is on the sauce again, and it
to
took
people
her
who
about
pay
24
attention.
hours
She's
to
just
bang
unlikable.
out whatever the hell this is about Nicolas Maduro, and she's getting dragged for it and getting dragged hard. She got ratioed here, and for good reason. Kamala Harris was part of an administration that put a $25 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro's head. They should be paying Donald Trump, I guess, for delivering on that bounty. And nonetheless,
or fuck, pay
Kamala
me.
Harris is
Pay me, I can use that money.
That Donald Trump shouldn't have done this. It makes absolutely no sense. Let's read real fast the top line. Let me see if I can get through this without interrupting like 50 different times. Trump's actions...
And you see this a lot from leftists. And I agree with it to some extent. Although, from the more I look into it, the more I see that this was within his presidential powers. I mean... It is. If you take a few liberties here and there, but even within those liberties, it's legal.
Venezuela do
I
not make
wouldn't have
America
done it,
safer,
but,
stronger, or more affordable. Yes, they do. President Trump now owns $18 trillion worth of oil. The price of gas could be like below $1. These are going to, the price of petroleum is the price of everything in the economy because everything is made of petroleum. So that's stupid. But also it does make America safer because Iran and Russia and China use Venezuela as a proxy to.
And look at what's going on in Iran right now. I think I have, do I have that video pulled up? If not, I should. I might pull that one up. They're having a revolution right now. The people are taking over. They have the people who have been in charge on the run. The citizens are doing this in Iran. So this could be a complete turnover from the way things have been for the last 15, 20 years.
Engage in biological and chemical warfare against our people. So yes, it does make America a lot safer to have Venezuela in good hands.
And when they say biological and chemical warfare, they're referring to the drugs. Because technically, it falls within those parameters, technically.
Makes America a lot stronger too. Maduro's a brutal, illegitimate dictator. It doesn't change the fact that this action was both unlawful and unwise. But he's a illegitimate dictator and brutal. So what should happen exactly? Strongly worded letters, like you guys doing.
Well, because they like him, so they don't want him out, but they need him out.
They just killed a bunch of Americans on the way out. So this is the way that like Kamala Harris and her ilk deal with things. They say, you're bad. Here's a strongly worded letter. We're gonna disavow you at the United Nations. Well, you know what? Like, hit the bricks, right? We live in a real world. There needs to be real world consequences for bad people. That's the deterrence that you need. We've seen this movie before: wars, regime change, oil, blah blah blah. Okay, so they're going back to the George W. Bush stuff. Shut up. The American people do not want this. They're tired of being lied to. Well, American people love this, actually.
I mean, I'm down with it. I ain't gonna lie, I'm down with it. Look, if we set it up to where they have a real person in charge. And a lot of people are questioning why they aren't putting the person who actually won the election in power, just because it takes a little bit of doing. They're gonna go in there, see, they're gonna do what they should have done in Iraq, basically. Only difference is we actually should have gone here. But yeah, they're gonna probably, hopefully, get the lady who actually won the election in power. But I mean, we'll see. And if they set up to where we buy the oil from them, probably at a highly discounted price, probably just barely over cost for what it costs to pump it or whatever, get them set up, doing all that correct. That could be owed to us, but if we completely take over those and make them American sites, I don't agree with that at all. But if we get them set up, get the country, going the way it should be, the way they voted for it to be, I mean, who knows? Maduro and his predecessor, whose mausoleum, police be upon him, the way they got everything going only enriches them, when the whole country could be a bunch of ballers. I ain't gonna lie.
And I'm seeing a lot of people celebrating in the streets, including the vast majority of them Venezuelans and people from Latin America. This is not about drugs or democracy. I mean, fine. It's also about election rigging, which you took advantage of in 2020.
Yeah.
This is about oil and Donald Trump's desire to play the regional strongman. He cared about, if he cared about either, he wouldn't pardon a convicted drug trafficker and sideline Venezuela's legitimate.
It depends on why he did it. I don't know why he did it. I haven't seen anything as to why he did it. But, I mean, I'm willing to give people the benefit of the doubt until I see a reason. Now, if we go this whole time and I don't see a reason, I mean, one, I can't remember off the top of my head who this person is, but I mean, maybe he had information on Maduro. Hey, Mr. Evil Sizer, how you doing? But I don't know. But he seems like he's got a plan. I ain't gonna lie. He seems like he's got an idea of what he's doing. Could it be personal gain? Of course it is. He's still, even though he's not a politician, he's still a politician. Because he won both elections. Maybe 3, depending on who you, what side of the aisle you're on.
Opposition, shut up. Whatever. People are glazing over at this point. The president is putting troops at risk. Hold on.
The troops aren't at risk. Okay, the troops aren't at risk. He barely took anybody. Now, there was a lot of people involved with all the aircraft carriers and ships off the shore, but he's not putting anybody at risk. The spending, sure. But again, depending on the deal that we make with Venezuela as far as the oil, again, Venezuela should be left in charge of it once we get some people in there. Not necessarily our cronies, as we've done in the past, but someone like the person who actually won the election, again, then this could be a good deal, and we can get all of our money back in those oil deals or treaties or whatever the hell you want to call them.
Hold on. That's going to piss me off. The president's putting troops at risk. Lady, you surrendered to the Taliban and got 13 Americans killed.
Yeah, 13 Americans were killed, and we let a bunch of people in here without any kind of screening. The Afghanistan withdrawal was horrific. We lost billions of dollars, okay, billions with a B of dollars worth of just aircraft alone, munitions, weapons, the whole deal.
And they got a lot of other Americans killed all around the globe. So you think that Donald Trump's putting troops at risk, spending billions, destabilizing a region? Okay, you're complaining about spending money. Blew out the budget.
Yeah.
Destabilizing a region.
It's always hilarious to me when people like Harris says shit like this.
Legal authority, exit plan, or benefit.
She's almost as retarded and hilarious to listen to as Tim Walz.
Benefited America. Everyone knows this. America needs leadership's priorities are lowering costs, working families, enforcing the rule of law, strengthening alliances, and most importantly, putting American people first. Oh, now
she don't know what that means.
She's getting completely ratioed throughout.
I don't care what you feel about Trump. Kamala Harris don't know what that means.
Limited to Kamala Harris drunk for sure. Let's see. You put a $25 million bounty on Maduro for information that would lead to the arrest of Maduro. This is from the Biden administration. It's from the Biden administration, okay? And so how can you be against this? In January, just before they left office, Biden and Kamala offered $25 million reward leading to Maduro's arrest. Now Kamala Harris is outraged that Maduro was arrested. These people are so dumb, it hurts my brain.
Because anytime Trump does anything, whether it's good or bad, they don't like it.
The Biden-Harris administration made $25 million available. Now you're saying capturing him was unlawful. Just entirely forget your.
I mean, they put a bounty on him.
The president's
pretty sure it's.
We expect zero
even more illegal to put a bounty on even an illegitimate leader's head.
Because the leadership is competent. Thank God you are not president. Now, your administration offered $25 million reward, by the way. This is your boss. Look at this. Joe Biden. Trump talks tough on Venezuela, but admires thugs and dictators like Nicolas Maduro.
And see, that's funny. Those kind of comments will come back and bite you in the ass.
When you run for president and lose in 2028, you will lose the Hispanic vote. And that's right. This is a way for Trump to win the Hispanic vote. I'm telling you, check with a Hispanic. They love what just happened in Venezuela. President Trump delivers results. You just put out a bounty. President Trump actually did something. This is great. Let's go ahead and check the community notes here. Obama found that Venezuelan dictator Maduro posed an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security and the foreign policy of the United States.
Yeah, even Obama said.
Which directly challenges Harris's statement. Yeah, exactly. Community notes here.
Because these people don't stand for anything. It bewilders me how things changed after Obama's second term. I voted for him first term. Because honestly, there wasn't a lot of difference between what he was saying and what McCain was saying. The only difference was his McCain's VP pick was slightly more retarded than Biden.
Are just destroying Kamala Harris. Is this you? What's happening in Venezuela is a crisis. People have fled Maduro's dictatorial regime, deserve safety. As president, I would immediately give temporary protected status to all Venezuelans. It's the right thing to do. America must show moral leadership in the hemisphere. Yeah, this is because you wanted Venezuelans to vote for you. You didn't actually want to help them. How cruel. How the mendacity of this, the cruelty of this. Yeah, okay. Kamala Harris just like trying to get the straw, right? As president, I will stand with the Venezuelan people for democracy, right? Got it. Okay. Did she just use the word chaos talking about the actions of Venezuela? Really? That's rich. This is right. I said, we need strength. This is what we need. This, drag queen story hour on military bases. Okay. Yeah, this is, of course, one of the dumbest tweets in the history of Kamala Harris, which is really saying a lot. Wait, why didn't he put a $25 million bounty on his head if he's so bad?
I'm not gonna lie, Patrick Bad Davis, he's very bad.
If he didn't deserve to get taken out of office, why would you put a bounty on his head? This is James Blair. He is the deputy chief of staff at the White House. Too long didn't read. Kamala Harris crying and drinking her wine.
I mean, that's accurate. Okay, if this is all this is gonna be.
Yeah. Everybody saying.
Let's see. Let's go to what Trump says. He lingers on that for a very long time.
Border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries, and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines, and the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Donroe Document. I don't know. It's
you can tell he's getting old, man. His little quips make a lot less sense.
Important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time.
This is true.
All Venezuelan military.
All right, so now we're just glazing Trump. I'm gonna move on.
Fans are now mad that he's
Let's see what's happening with Hasan.
Is this true?
Diddy, Bin Laden, Piker.
The last year, I barely talked about Asmongold.
Wait, what?
This is not true. Okay, Asmongold was gone for like 2 whole months. In like summertime, because his dad was sick and died, and it took him. A lot of people didn't think he was coming back. Hasan Piker would not stop talking about him the whole time. And then, oh yeah, this is just the last 2 months here.
What?
Asmongold.
That's just Christmas.
Else tired of the daily Asmongold segments? And this is from 1 hour ago, and it has 400 updates in an hour. This is a legitimate criticism. I just want to gauge others' opinion. Watching Asmongold clips is now happening multiple times a day. I'm a 60-month sub, and I watch all of Hasan's content, but this is the kind of...
And this is me. Look, I'm not even a big Asmongold fan, okay? He's got a lot of stupid takes. Not as many as Hasan, Diddy bin Laden, Piker, Hamas Piker himself. But... But my God, like this, if these two guys were running for president, Asmon would be the lesser of two evils. Not that he's evil. He seems like a decent dude, but he's just a poor dude. Like you can see, he's still living in the same disgusting, probably duplex, maybe a house that he's lived in since he started. The man don't use his money. The man is living communist chic, like actual communist chic, as opposed to Diddy bin Laden Piker, who is... a communist with a Gucci bag.
The thing that gets me to click away. Moderation is fine, but 1 to 2 hours per day focusing on that moron is genuinely tiring. Jesus, I understand it from a perspective of raising awareness. The problem is the ADHD of it all. We'll be watching an informative video for 1 minute, then he yells at a chatter for 10 minutes, and then it's an Asmon or Ethan clip, a 50-minute rant about that, and then it's another 30-minute rant about that again.
And look, I don't care much for Ethan either. Honestly, Ethan, ever since he started hanging out with Hasan, Diddy bin Laden Piker, he's been a lot worse for wear. Like, there's music videos out there that you can see that it's just like, I miss the old Ethan. I do too. H3H3 was a very base podcast back before he got all that backlash for talking to Jordan Peterson.
What the fuck? We need to stop legitimizing him. He wants the attention, and we need to stop giving it to him. I'm tired of seeing his takes on stream. I've just realized I'm no longer jiving with the vibe of the streams in general. I don't give two shits what Asmongold thinks. So wait a minute. The time that he went, oh my God, his channel, he went up whenever... He went into my... Oh, man. And then it went down after he went... Yeah, that's why you're talking about me. That's why you're thinking about me, bro. Yeah?
Maybe his audience is too stupid.
Where's the dog? It's gone. Where'd it go?
Yeah, that and ever since Puppygate.
Nobody knows.
Collargate.
Why are we talking about Asmongold? There's more to the world in political commentary than him.
There's actually not. It's all about me.
Every now and then, I will briefly bring this up.
Every now and then.
It is not briefly.
Right.
He doesn't know what words mean.
You know,
let me hear it.
Considering that he is, you know, the largest political content creator on this platform with, once again, now 78,000 people watching.
He's watching his numbers live.
Also, I think people can see me.
They can see you?
They can see me. They can see that I'm not, objectively, I'm not crashing out.
You caught me! Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. A bunch of chatter saying that I'm actually blinded by white supremacist values! How can I be okay? I hate all of you!
It's so sad. And
it really is.
54K of course. As always. As always.
54K, 80K.
Hey, listen.
And even on Hasan Piker,
you
see.
I hate all of you! I hate the wall! I hate the left! I hate the wall!
That's just sad. Okay, so we're gonna watch this. Apparently, this Waltz person, we'll see who he is in a second, put out a chilling warning after Maduro's arrest, saying this is not your grandfather's mafia. Let's see how that goes for a little bit.
With a historic day in the Caribbean, Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane says U.S. forces had practiced maneuvers for
Was that Raising Cane?
Got the go-ahead from President Trump late Friday night to strike Venezuela and capture Nicolas Maduro. Trump says Maduro was being highly guarded in a presidential palace, but wasn't able to close the door to a safe room. As the United Nations Security Council is set to meet tomorrow on Venezuela, here's what Ambassador Mike Waltz said to Venezuela's ambassador and the Security Council less than 2 weeks ago.
All right, so they're meeting today.
The United States does not recognize Nicolas Maduro or his cronies as the legitimate government of Venezuela.
And nobody should. He lost the
Nicolas
election
Maduro is
and refused to leave.
fugitive
You know, that thing that people said that Trump would do.
from American justice. In fact, Maduro and his regime stole the election, and the international community has the receipts. President Trump has been very clear that he is going to use the full power of the United States of America, the full might of the United States, to take on and eradicate these drug cartels which have operated with impunity in our hemisphere for far too long, and everyone knows it.
Joining us now for a Sunday Morning Futures exclusive, the United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us.
Ambassador.
I think the message you delivered was clear. President Trump has been very clear. I think the people with ties to Venezuela, people who believe in law and order, are cheering in the streets. But you're about to walk into a situation tomorrow at the United Nations where a lot of people don't like a strong President Trump, and they don't like a strong United States of America. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow?
Well, first, Jason, I want to salute President Trump as Commander-in-Chief and our amazing military, special operations operatives, and law enforcement in ringing on Article 2 of the UN Charter, which deals with sovereignty. And I will remind everyone of Article 50. So I'm going to hear a lot of hand-wringing on Article 2 of the UN Charter, which deals with sovereignty. And I will remind everyone of Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, which is, as we have in the past, which is a nation's inherent right to self-defense. So in this case, you have a drug kingpin, an illegitimate leader, indicted in the United States, coordinating with the likes of China, Russia, Iran, terrorist groups like Hezbollah,
that's true.
Drugs, thugs, and weapons into the United States of America, threatening to invade its neighbors, its neighbor Guyana, with one of the largest oil discoveries in the world, is under threat from the Maduro regime. One of the largest refugee crises in the world, larger than even Syria, Jason. And at the end of the day, was the United States, was President Trump just going to let that status quo continue? Absolutely not. He gave diplomacy a chance. He gave Maduro a chance. But
I mean, he did say a lot. He said, hey, stop doing this or else something might happen. And I mean, we've all seen the Maduro video where he called Trump a coward, said he ain't gonna do nothing, man. Like literally a couple hours before Trump went and got him, he said, he ain't gonna do nothing, man. He's a bitch. He's a bitch. He ain't gonna come over here. He ain't gonna step across this line. He ain't gonna come in this house. No, he's not. And the next thing you know, you see him with the big glasses tied up in handcuffed in probably a Chinook.
he took decisive action in the interest of the United States, and Maduro will now be prosecuted in federal court.
It is amazing to me the number of people who don't understand that when Donald Trump actually says something, he means it, and he foreshadows it, and it means peace through strength. But
I mean, that is true. You love him or hate him, the man at least tries to keep his campaign promises, or what he says in general. You may like it, you may not like it, but it's how it is. Yo, Shapeshifter, what's good?
I also, Ambassador, thought it was interesting that earlier in the day, before Maduro was captured and taken, that they were actually meeting with the Chinese. What are the Chinese interests there in Venezuela? Why was Venezuela so important to the Chinese?
Well, a number of reasons. One, the Chinese are moving incredibly aggressively into the Western Hemisphere, into South America.
They've bought a lot of American property, which Trump, I don't know how why we let that happen.
Rubio are pushing back on that hard. But what you've seen is,
I will say, other than like embassies and such, there should be no government-purchased land in other countries.
China getting cheap oil, moving in and taking key geography, taking things like ports and rail and food supplies right in our Western Hemisphere, right in Central South America. And this is why, amongst many reasons, this is such a critical national security issue. And to your point, senior Chinese delegation was meeting with Maduro just hours before. And
yeah, that was pretty funny.
You know, we haven't even started talking about the likes of Hezbollah, Iran, Russia, and others. And here's a bigger picture, Jason, of what President Trump is doing with his foreign policy and the strategic approach here. You now have Argentina moving our way, or is a key ally, Chile moving our way, Paraguay, Honduras. We're taking UN action against the gangs in Haiti with burden sharing there. President Trump knows from the Arctic to our border to Central and South America, our supply chains matter. Our homeland security matters, and we have the food supply, the critical minerals, the energy, you name it, for our national security right here in our Western Hemisphere, but it's been ignored by administration after administration, no longer under President Trump.
Yeah, I do like the idea of the Don Rowe doctrine. It rings bells to me. Explain to us how bad, I like the way you framed it, drugs and thugs. That's what Venezuela was bringing into the United States. How bad was that situation? We saw things playing out in Colorado and Tren de Aragua and, crisscrossing this country. But these characters were coming out of Venezuela and doing so on purpose. I mean, that's what the indictment's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the strategic shift. President Trump, Stephen Miller, DHS Secretary Noam, and others have made. These groups, Tren de Aragua, Cartel de los Soles, these aren't like, our grandfather's mafia. These are more like ISIS and Al-Qaeda with state backing. Maduro was a state backer of narco-terrorism. These operatives are some of the most vicious in the world. They're right here in the United States killing Americans, but they have the backing
according to this
of
map.
Venezuela's
Watch out, Colombia.
military and intelligence service, partnered with the Iranians, the Chinese and Russians, and also the Cubans. So enough was enough. Enough with our homeland security being threatened, and the president took that decisive action. And you're hearing, Jason, a lot of analogies to Iraq and those mistakes of the past. This is.
I mean, I wouldn't exactly call this a war. It was an 18-hour skirmish at most. I mean, we'll see what happens, but so far, I mean, I'm not a big. I don't like any kind of shooty bang bang, nothing like that, but. I mean, so far, you know what I mean? Like, Trump, let Israel do a couple missiles into Iran. I think we might have done a couple, if I'm not mistaken. And now look, like Iran is going through their own little revolution. The people are taking their country back from the dictators, the terrorist supporters who have been running that country for so long.
Much more like Noriega, a convicted narco-terrorist who is now being brought to justice. Panama, which, by the way, is sitting on the UN Security Council right now as a rotating member, is far better for it. Our region, our safety and security for every American will be far better after this.
Also, isn't it kind of scary? I'm pretty sure Somalia is on the UN Security Council. I don't think a lot about the UN.
Action.
Well, the United Nations meeting tomorrow, and you're going to be there, and we'll be watching. Ambassador Mike Waltz.
I'm going to keep an eye on my own self.
Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here
what a
to
horrible
subscribe
name.
to the Fox
I'm
News
Brian
YouTube
Kilmeade.
page
I know it's
to catch
Kilmeade,
our hottest
but
interviews and most compelling analysis.
All right.
This is former.
Well, we'll get in a little bit of this. We won't have time for the whole Sargon video. But I've been watching Sargon off and on for probably the last 12 years. Maybe 10, 11 years. Since just right after the first Gamergate. I've been watching him, and he's got great content. He's usually right on things, especially lately. Since Lacey Green crossed the aisle and shook hands with a lot of the anti-SJWs of yore, started dating one of them for a little bit, and then there was a whole big moment where everyone said, "Hey, I'm sorry, you said this, you were hanging out with these people. We thought, we never thought this would happen," and it was a very nice time.
Venezuelan
and she's moved on to bigger and better things too.
Nicolas Maduro, less than 3 months ago, singing John Lennon's Imagine. And that, I think, really...
And I just want to say, famous people in general, stop singing Imagine, okay? It's annoying. It's condescending. It's stupid.
is a great way of encapsulating the issues that are going on here at the moment. Now, you're doubtless aware at this point that Trump sent in Delta Force in a very, very precise strike, it seems. Went in, captured him, did very little damage. They blew up the tomb of Hugo Chavez. And captured him and his wife and just got out. It was no big deal. It was just, this is what America can do. And America has been able to do this for a long time. And for some reason, you were still fucking around, right?
And then also
because you assumed that America would never end up with a president who'd just be like, yeah, you know what? Just screw this guy. Screw this guy. We're just cracking on with it. And this whole perspective really emphasizes the differences here, right? Because on one hand, what you have is Machiavellian realpolitik. You have the Athenians negotiating with the Melians. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. And on the other hand, you have idealistic tyrants who are literally impoverishing their own country and screwing with the world order. And for some reason, people are trying to sympathize with this. It's like, no, this is ridiculous nonsense that has made an entire... I mean, do you not remember, what was it, 2 years ago now, when Venezuela was starving, literally starving? It's like, no, Venezuela, if you look at just the resources available to it, is one of the richest countries in the world. It is purely ideological, purely socialism that has ruined Venezuela. And Maduro had an approval rating of about 20%, which is about Starmer's. In fact, Starmer's is slightly lower. But the point is, he's about as popular as Starmer because this idealistic bullshit ruins countries. And it facilitates dictatorships because they have a plan. They are going to fix everything. Oh, they're going to make the world John Lennon's Imagine, right? That's their plan. Whereas in reality, what they've caused is something like 8 million Venezuelans to have to flee their country. They've, of course, persecuted the political opposition, overthrown democracy in the nation.
And there's some of them who may even feel like they can go back. I know a couple people personally who are considering going back. Not right away, clearly. They want to see what happens, but it's kind of beautiful. It's like I say to people who come and work for me who, you know, we form a little bit of a bond as co-workers, and then they move on to bigger and better things. It's like seeing someone get out of rehab. It's just like, hey, I hate to see you go, but I'll never stand in the way of someone doing what's right for them.
Well, and when I say persecute, I mean like kill people, and just held the population in a position of repression. Like there's a film called The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, and I think it's in that where Hugo Chavez just walks into some nice shop and he's like, this is nice. This is the people's shop now. That's fucking theft, right? That's the kind of just communist bullshit that has been squatting in Venezuela for the last 30 plus years. And this is the end of it, right? This, I get to tyrannize you for my fantasies, is the end of it. And so I've got no sympathy whatsoever with Maduro.
No,
and
of course
also,
not. Why
it's
would
kind of weird that it's taken this long, right? Everyone was against Maduro. The European Union, the United States, Britain. Like, there's just no one of any note who hasn't denounced Maduro.
Until now.
And it's like, okay, well, if we see him as an illegitimate tyrant, and we know he's ruining this country, do we do something about it? And everyone's like, nope, we just don't do anything about it. And Trump is just like, well, we could just literally press the fix everything button and make him disappear. Well, not even disappear. I can just bring him back in chains like Vercingetorix. Trump apparently paraded him through the streets in a van with an open door, so everyone can see that you've got him. Literally like Caesar with Vercingetorix in Rome.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
So, like, what that signals, though, is a return to an older style of politics, right? It's not...
I mean, and to be fair, we didn't invade Venezuela per se. We were just temporary, undocumented visitors.
The international libtard order that intends to bring John Lennon's Imagine into being, it's something else. And what it really
I mean, we were no less violent than some of the
to
people
the
who come here.
Style
Some,
imperial
not all.
politics.
Not by a long shot. All
Hierarchies of agents and actors on the world stage, and they do what they can, and the people who can't suffer what they must. And I'm sorry, but that's just what's happening. Now, you can imagine who's most affected by this. Jeremy Corbyn It's like, oh my God, I can't believe it's a cowboy state. It's like, he is literally a dictator. He literally ignores elections. He lost the last election, and he's probably rigged every other election since before that. He lost it, and he's refused to step down. Corbyn, here's him in, like, I don't know, 2012 or 2007 or something. I can't remember when this was. Corbyn phoning into his radio show, speaking in perfectly fluent Spanish. Comrade, we're doing great work against capitalism. The revolution is ongoing. Well done, comrade. And so Corbyn's just, oh my God, I can't believe Maduro has been taken out. Yeah, because you would be a Maduro here. Same with Bernie Sanders. Oh, boo-hoo. Sorry, don't care if your little fellow socialist got their shit kicked in. Don't care. Why?
And I love when these people who don't give a damn about the Constitution or the constitutionality of anyone's on their side's actions will say something like this. Bernie Sanders doesn't care. And I used to be a huge Bernie bro. Probably from the time I heard about him, which was around the time toward the end of Obama's first term, was where I first got on board the Bernie Sanders train. And I was there until probably a couple of years into Trump's term. I wasn't huge. Like, I didn't like a lot of the things that people were saying just because I saw people lying or embellishing or getting on him for a bunch of stupid shit like they did Obama. Like, I didn't like when people got on Obama for the tan suit and a couple other things. He had a few weird eating habits, just like Trump with the ketchup on a steak. Like, these are politicians. They're going to do plenty of stuff that's rightful for you to bitch about. But if we bitch about these little stupid things, okay, then no one's going to take us seriously.
Would I care? Why would I?
It's the same reason why I always do my best to pronounce some of these words, especially the names of some of these things, as correctly as possible. Because if you purposefully mispronounce something, then why should we listen to you on anything else? You don't care enough. Okay, you don't have the respect for any kind of person or topic to say their name right. Because if you're saying their name right, people are just going to assume that you're some kind of racist, some kind of ist or phobe, and that's why you're doing this. Don't give them that off top. Okay, you have to come at this from a reasonable, rational perspective. And unfortunately, a lot of folks have lost that in this whole back and forth that we've been having, especially since Trump came into power. People don't talk to each other anymore. Not that we really did before that, but it's gotten worse. Not necessarily saying it's Trump's the one that did it, but it's all been focused around him.
Why would I be in any way in any favor of it? But also, and I think it's worth pointing out, right, that this style of politics is anachronistic, right? It doesn't make sense in the 21st century. It doesn't make sense outside of an industrial city, right? That's where this kind of politics, this ideology came from, and it's not been a success. There's nowhere on earth that it is brought about John Lennon's Imagine, but it has ruined people over and over and over, ruined countries. And it's just something that doesn't make sense in the modern day. If you wanted to make the world a better place, then you would want to actually make people richer. You would actually be concerned about that sort of thing. This is a flight of fantasy from a different century.
You're a flight of fantasy.
And it's the same with the mullahs in Iran, right? It's this ideological regime from the 20th century that if you look at it and go, what is that even doing here in 2021? 2026.
Yeah.
What is that even doing here?
And I do that sometimes too. Sometimes it's hard to believe that it's 2026. I don't know what it was about COVID in the world since then, but it seems like every year's taken forever. But when it's over, it's just like, man, where'd this year go?
Why do they still exist? And it's because they've just lived on and nobody has put them out of their misery. And that seems to be what Trump is doing now. I think Trump is playing a map game. I think he is looking at the Total War board or the Crusader Kings 3 board or Hearts of Iron board, and he's just saying, well, I mean, I could just knock that, and then get these resources onto my side rather than on the opposition side. And I think these pathetic, powerless communists are just like, but John Lennon's Imagine. It's like, sorry, don't care. What are you talking?
Look, and this is another big thing. My cousin just sent me something. how did all these protests get formed so quickly? It's crazy. Like these don't feel like movements of the people. These feel like the same, potentially, probably paid protesters that are that we've seen for just about everything that Trump does that the left doesn't like. It's absolutely crazy. People said Kamala Harris wouldn't do this. Why? Because she said, what would you do if someone tried to start a war or some shit? She said, I would say, hey, stop it. And I was like, this is the dumbest response of all time for that question. But on the other hand, you see a bunch of people, and you see it naturally escalate from a handful of people to big groups of Venezuelan people in America from Venezuela, whether they're immigrants, whether they've been naturalized or anything like that, wrapping themselves in the flags of the U.S. and Venezuela, both, and just being grateful that the place that they're from, their home, could be safe for them to return to someday. It's a beautiful thing. Look, love them or hate them. I mean, Trump did that.
Talking about there are real problems, real issues.
Let's hope it keeps going in the right direction.
I don't know whether you've noticed.
And he follows through. America's not known to follow through. We're just known to do things.
Anyone sounding as much like an emperor as Donald Trump.
Jesus.
Okay.
Have you talked to any of your friends?
Nothing has changed. Right? Nothing has changed. The systems, the balance of power, nothing has changed. All that has happened is a very small executive action on the part of the United States, just go and capture Maduro because they're not happy with how he is. And what that has done is shown that the emperor has no clothes, because that's what this all has been.
Yeah.
The post-World War II order of the 20th century really was the American hegemony over the West versus the hegemonies of Russia and China in the East. And all Trump is doing is saying, I don't really care for the fiction anymore. Right? That's what is happening here. And
I mean, he's not wrong.
Everyone is just going to buckle in front of this. The Eurocrats, they're also going to, I bet they're puckering so hard right now. They're like, oh God, are we next? It's like, yeah, maybe you are. That's the thing, right? Because what you are is a province of the American empire. That's why you don't pay to defend yourselves. America pays to defend you, and you stay in your fucking lane and do as you're told.
And the Eurocrats, this is bureaucrats in Europe, should be afraid. The fact that no further investigation happened when how many politicians on the right died in, I want to say, Germany, like the night or 2 nights before the election. It was at least dozen and a half. I want to say it was almost 3 dozen politicians on the right, the opposition, who looked like they were going to win, were killed in various ways within a night of the election. It's absolutely harrowing.
That's what this is. And that's what it's always been. It's just you had it in your head that there is a fiction that actually...
He looks like he's medicating.
Don't we have equal sovereignty? Aren't we all just equals in the post political end of history, dancing around a liberal utopia? It's like, no. That again, the libtards and Maduro believe precisely the same thing. The only difference between them is how to get there. So the news agents, who would be liberal centrists, and the communist tyrant are aiming for the same goal. And so now they're just like, oh, well, I guess the rules-based order, I mean, it was always a bit of a fiction, wasn't it? No, it was a total fiction, which is why we have so many exceptions to the rule. Which is why, and this is why Britain looks so stupid, as Dominic Cummings put it in his podcast the other day. The Europeans are just like, okay, fuck the European Court of Human Rights. We need to stop these boats coming across. And we're sat there going, well, we've got to abide by the ECHR. No, they don't. Why should we? Because again, it was a legal fiction. It's not real. What is real is what you can physically do and what you physically can't do. And this is just so, honestly, it's so brilliant. Watching Ed Davey, again, a devotee of John Lennon's Imagine, being like, oh, Keir Starmer should condemn Trump's illegal actions in Venezuela.
Look, and as always, the Krasensteins made a very stupid argument for two reasons. One, you didn't see any people who fled to America from Iraq celebrating because nobody fled Iraq because they weren't allowed to. Secondly, if we had stayed there and followed through and it wasn't just some kind of vendetta put forth by Bush and Cheney, then yeah, maybe it would have been more worthy. But we went to war in Iraq because of some blood vendetta that George W. had, and then Cheney wanted it for the oil. Let's just face facts. That's what happened, and that's why people were against it. In this, yes, oil's involved. We're probably going to get some sweet oil rights, or at least a good deal on some oil. But people are here in this country. People who have fled Venezuela are here in this country, and they're celebrating this because now they might be able to go home, or they might stay here and just go there and visit family from time to time, or have more of their family freely come here. It doesn't matter. Okay, we're going to see, and hopefully we'll see the follow through. If not, I'll be bitching just as much as anybody else that Trump did this thing, caused instability, and didn't follow through, and didn't stay and stick around and make sure that they do what's needed. And the reason that this is potentially okay is because he's a businessman, and hopefully, he will do what is necessary with the oil and the oil reserves to make sure that the America doesn't lose money on this, and neither does Venezuela. There's a way that we can both prosper from this, or at the very least, they can prosper and we can come across, clean and neutral and pay all the bills that we have from this with said oil. It's very possible. But look, the Krasensteins are grifters, okay? These are people who don't believe in anything. They're very fluffy, upper middle to upper class, elitist, who are trying to tell you how to live. That's all that is. Then there's this retard. My president, do you have a New Year's revolution? Peace on earth. The place that we bombed, the place that we went and got Maduro, was not peaceful. Sometimes this is how you get peace. Yeah, sorry, Jason. This is what the morning show is. But yeah, man, it's just this is how we do it. And as much as I don't agree with a lot of these wars, especially if it leads to long conflicts, I don't think this one will lead to long conflict, at least not right away. Iran didn't. Iran's fighting for their own freedom right now. They are, the citizens are taking that country back. They are chasing the people who have oppressed them in the streets as of last night. It's a beautiful thing. Hopefully we don't have to get involved with that either. But again, you can't just say, I want peace and expect everyone to be peaceable about it, okay? Because if a lot of you have lived similar lives to me, you know that anytime you find peace, there's always them that would see to end your peace because they don't have that peace. They've never known peace. It's going to happen. Countries are a lot like people, schizophrenic.
Venezuela. Maduro is a brutal and illegitimate dictator, but what do you mean, but? What the fuck do you mean, but? Like, you're just like, no, not the brutal illegitimate dictator. Sorry, what are you talking about? Like, sorry, Ed, I'm not upholding John Lennon's Imagine. I'm actually happy that a brutal and illegitimate dictator was fucking knocked out. But unlawful attacks like this make us all less safe.
This is someone who, Ed Davey and Keir Starmer, these are people who are in charge in Britain, I'm pretty sure. I know Keir Starmer is the prime minister. I don't know who this fucking guy is, but he clearly thinks Keir Starmer is a good leader. No, Keir Starmer is basically what would have happened if Tim Walz became vice president and then maybe eventually president. I'll do another segment on what's going on in England, Britain specifically right now. Might be my weekend special. But for now, I got to get going. Sorry for those of you that want to continue with this. I might continue with the Sargon of Akkad video in the morning. But I appreciate everyone who stops by, especially, I had a couple of my regulars in here, Evil Sizer, Shapeshifter. It's always a pleasure to see y'all in the comments, especially. But yeah, it's been an interesting weekend. I did a show on Saturday. I did one today. I'll do one pretty much every weekday, with a few exceptions here and there. Just sometimes I can't get out of bed. It's part of getting older. But I appreciate everyone who comes here. For those of you who haven't, please stop over on Rumble. Follow me over there. Still bear in mind, as always. But follow me over there so I can start streaming over there. My goal, again, is to put all the politics. Rumble will be specifically all the political content. Twitch will continue to be just the gaming content, and everything will be on Kick. And eventually YouTube will just be a clip show and highlight reel and whatnot. But thank you all very much. I got to get out of here. Got to get to work. It's calling me.